Hello friends! Japan is a country that attracts attention due to its customs and preserved culture. Below, facts about Japan will be considered that demonstrate its unique identity and distinguish it from other countries. For example, Japan has its own concept of the age of consent, which differs from many other countries. The age of consent varies in different countries. In the UK and South Korea, the age of consent is 18 years, while in China, Germany, and Italy it is 14 years. In Indonesia, Article 287 of the Criminal Code prohibits intimate relations with persons under 15 years old, but the age of consent is not specifically established. However, in Japan, the age of consent is set at 13 years. Persons who have not reached 13 years are considered victims of sexual violence or rape according to Japanese law. The Ministry of Justice of Japan considered raising the age of consent to 16 years to strengthen the protection of young people. However, pressure from demonstrators and the public was strong, which influenced the slowing down of the legislative change processes. The outdated attitude of parliamentarians towards the marginal notes of victims and minors is now being reconsidered, as they should not be regarded as adults. It is known that marriage between first cousins increases the risk of congenital defects. In the United States, 24 states prohibit marriage between cousins, while in 20 states and the District of Columbia, it is allowed. In Japan, marriage between cousins remains rare, despite being legal. The residents of Inakura village do not wish to taint their lineage by marrying commoners. Fires, floods, and famine have influenced the history of marriages in Japanese villages, where few people used to enter or leave the communities, strengthening isolation. Despite legality, marriage between cousins in Japan has sharply declined since around 1967. According to the article, Global Trends in Freedom of Expression and Development, published by UNESCO in 2012, at least 21 countries have fully decriminalized such marriages. In Japan, rules were tightened with amendments to the Criminal Code on June 30, 2022, now prosecuting online defamation with penalties up to 1 year in prison or a fine. The maximum fine is 300,000 yen, approximately $32,000, which is much stricter than before, when the penalty was up to 30 days in jail and a 10,000 yen fine. The amendments sparked debates, with the opposition believing that the law could restrict freedom of speech and criticism of the authorities. Discussions about balancing protection and freedom continue. Strict smoking rules in Japan please non-smokers, but create problems for smokers. The country enforces tough bans on smoking in public places with hefty fines. The fine for smoking in prohibited areas can reach 500,000 yen, equivalent to $61,000. This is a serious incentive to follow the rules. The law revision began in July 2018, was gradually implemented from January 2019, and fully came into effect on April 1, 2020. Many public places already actively enforce bans, with special smoking zones created to ensure comfort and safety for all residents and tourists. Smoking is allowed only in specially designated areas. This depends on infrastructure that must meet certain standards and safety requirements. Persons under 20 years old are prohibited from entering smoking zones, even if they do not intend to smoke. This is a strict ban to protect youth health. Celebrating nudity in natural hot springs, known as onsen, is recognized worldwide and available to both private individuals and the public. For Japanese people, onsens, water sources rich in minerals and heated by volcanic activity, are considered a luxurious place for relaxation and recovery. In onsens, people of all generations and professions meet and coexist together, regardless of social origin and status. Undressing in onsens symbolizes the renunciation of social status, creating a special atmosphere of equality and freedom among visitors. Hot baths play an important role in Japan's social structure as places for relaxation, communication, and accepting nudity without shame. Children are brought to Sento from an early age, so they become familiar with a world where nudity is perceived naturally and without prejudice. All body shapes and sizes are accepted in onsens. Scars, wrinkles, postpartum bellies, or obesity remain exposed and embraced. Ro Xpan from Tokyo said that in onsens nobody cares about body imperfections. There is an atmosphere of acceptance and respect here. In Japan, intimate relationships are considered noble, unlike in other places where they are rarely discussed and are taboo. Openness about intimate relationships in Japanese society is perceived differently than in most other cultures and countries. In Japan, intimate relationships are seen as a symbol of fertility, although this is not expressed as openly as in the West. This is reflected in the country's ancient traditions and customs. Numerous festivals dedicated to male faith and fertility take place in Japan, such as Hon Matsuri and Kanamara Matsuri, where statues with fertility symbolism are displayed. One of the oldest traditions is Onda Matsuri, a fertility festival with public intimate rituals at the Asuka and Matsumoto shrines, where stone statues of male and female forms stand. In Japan, there are temples dedicated to numerous statues, dolls, or amulets in the shape of female breasts, symbolizing fertility and feminine power in the culture. There is also the Ososo Matsuri festival, which translates as the Vagina Festival, associated with geishas and traditions that are hard to separate from Japanese culture as a whole. Unfortunately, many still misunderstand geishas, confusing them with prostitutes or sex workers, although these are completely different concepts. Geishas are not prostitutes. They do not always wear thick white makeup, and sometimes they are not even women, which often surprises many. Geishas are traditional Japanese artists and entertainers who play string instruments and create their own music and dances. Becoming a geisha is very difficult because it requires many years of training, mastery of the arts, and adherence to traditions. Geishas preserve the unique traditions and art of Japan, making a significant contribution to the country's cultural heritage and maintaining ancient customs. Women work hard to perfect their artistic skills, practicing music and dance for many years to become true masters of their craft. On average, a woman studies for 5 or more years before she is allowed to be called a geisha, which shows the seriousness of the training and dedication to the profession. Geishas are hired to serve male clients, performing tasks that include playing musical instruments, dancing, and flirting to maintain their entertainment. Alongside geishas, there are high-class prostitutes called ara, who also work in the field of male entertainment, but with different duties. The main task of a geisha is to play music, dance, and flirt with men to keep their spirits up while they wait for the arrival of oin. Here are some facts about Japan that are considered partially taboo in other countries, but are part of Japanese culture and traditions. In your opinion, which fact about Japan is the most unique and interesting? Please write your opinion in the comments section. Thank you for watching. Until the next video, where we will share even more interesting things about Japan's traditions and culture.